Hi, this is Pastor Adam here, and I just want to come to you with a quick little devotional. I know in this time right now we're all trying to figure this out and do stuff a little bit different, do life a little bit differently, but it's always important for us to stop and reflect and spend time with God. And this reminds me of a story in 1 Kings 19 where Elijah is afraid. He's running for his life. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore, and he finds himself in a cave. And in the cave, he hears fire, he hears wind, he hears all these loud noises, and every time these noises come, he stops and he thinks it's God. And it helps me sometimes because in this chaos of the world, sometimes I think I hear God. Sometimes I think in the noise of the media and the noise of Facebook, and I think I see God and I think I feel God in that times, but I always find myself empty. And that's what happened to Elijah. He hears these voices and he thinks God's in them, and God's not there. And finally there's a small wind, and suddenly he feels God in that. And what I like about this is it's a small wind. Some translations call it a whisper. And what's a whisper? A whisper is an intimate act. It's closeness. And I think there's times where we look for God in the big things. We think we can find God in the big things, and what God wants to show us is He's in the small things. He's in the closeness of our lives. So don't stop spending time with Him. Don't look for advice in the media. We're going to listen to our government. We're going to obey what they say, but look for comfort in God. Look for peace in the Word. Don't neglect the intimacy with Him. The things that I wish I could give you as a pastor, I wish I could give you my history, my time with God. I wish everyone could experience what I've experienced, but I can't. You have to develop your own history. That comes through just being with Him, spending time. And what I want us to understand is this, that intimacy takes time. Intimacy is something that just doesn't happen overnight, but it's developed through repetition. It's developed through being there and actually being very diligent in what we do. In this time with Elijah here, you look and you see him in there. He wanted nothing to do. He was actually afraid for his life. You know, I've gotten some calls from friends and family that are terrified right now. They don't know what's going to happen or what it's going to do, and they're afraid. And all we can do is remind them just to turn to God, just to turn to Him, and He'll be there. He wants us to be close to Him. He wants us to. He knows the number of hairs on our head. He knows everything about us. He wants us to be close. Just because we can't meet as a big group this week and you can't hear from Pastor Ryan doesn't mean God's not going to speak to you. He wants to speak to you individually. He wants to speak to you for your family. This is the time where as parents we step up and we spend time with God and lead our kids. Most of our kids don't know what's going on. They're just happy they got a couple weeks off of school. But we get to show them Christ. We get to be Jesus to them this week. Don't neglect that. Don't just let that go by and say we have a couple weeks off, but be diligent in what you do. Find time for the Lord. He wants to speak to us. He's not going to speak to us in the big right now. He's going to speak to us in the small. He's going to speak to us in the day-to-day devotions, in our prayer time, in our worship time. Don't neglect that. I hope you guys have a good day.